Good morning, I'm Jill Valley. Starting this morning and every Sunday, MTN News will bring you the Rebound, Montana. We're providing a weekly look at how Montanans are navigating this coronavirus pandemic and the state's efforts to recover from the impacts on the economy and society. Our commitment to stories that will help you navigate these uncertain times, from what you'll need to know when it's time to go back to work to how those in the community continue to step up. Our hope is to relieve some of the pressure we've all felt lately by showing you the best ways to respond. Now, last week, Montana started a slow rebound as Governor Steve Bullock implemented phase 1 of his reopening plan. Many Montana Main Street and retail businesses that closed their doors due to COVID-19 restrictions were allowed to slowly reopen last Monday as part of the phase 1 reopening. And starting tomorrow, Monday, May 4th, bars, restaurants, and casinos will also open up, but with restrictions. Gyms will remain closed, and Governor Bullock says their exclusion was based upon recommendations from health officials due to sweat transfer and heavy breathing. Right now, the state doesn't have a hard date for when phase 2 might start. It will be based upon date, resource availability, and health expert input. Bullock is asking people to continue to be vigilant in stopping the virus, such as practicing social distancing and wearing a face mask in grocery stores.
Where you could actually be in pretty close contact with someone who could sneeze or cough, that it really is a good idea. It's not a requirement, it's not a mandate, but it really is a good idea to wear one of those masks, a non-medical mask, just to keep our community that much safer.
You can find the governor's phased approach to reopening the Big Sky at covid19.mt.gov. Now, the Missoula Health Department opted to issue stricter guidance, saying the city needs more time to prepare for a phased reopening. The governor's phase 1 plan allowed salons, barbershops, massage studios, and spas to reopen, but that will not happen in Missoula as long as phase 1 remains in effect. Those businesses will be allowed to open when Montana moves into phase 2 in Missoula County. For many Montanans, COVID-19 is putting major financial stress on their families. Earlier this week, I spoke with the Missoula Job Service Manager to get some answers on how to apply for unemployment benefits and resources for you to maybe find a job.
Thank you so much for being with us. A lot of people have questions about unemployment. Your office generally helps people find jobs, but you've taken on some of the burden of the state office to get people through this unemployment process because so many people need it now. And I know you've been with this office since the 90s. Talk about how unprecedented the situation has been.
Well, we've had layoffs before, particularly during the 2008 recession, but never like this. I think this has affected more people. It's affected a lot of folks that have never, ever been unemployed before. So they're having to file for unemployment where they've never done it before. Because it's been taking so long in some instances, we've been referring them to the Office of Public Assistance, to the food bank, for any place to be able to take care of their families. So this is truly unprecedented. I don't think anybody could have ever predicted this. And I certainly hope that it doesn't ever happen again. But we're doing our best to get everybody through it right now.
How many calls are you getting a day? I know at the beginning of this, a couple weeks ago when we first spoke, it was upwards of 300 people calling. Is that still happening?
Well, not quite as many as we were getting to begin with, but we're still usually getting way over 200, which is a lot, being so I don't have tons of staff here because there's lots of things that are going on. So we're doing our best we can. One of the good things about calling our office versus trying to get a hold of unemployment in Helena is that generally you're going to be able to talk to somebody. And if you can't talk to somebody here right away, you're going to be able to get a call back.
They just want to know when they're getting their money. Is there any advice you could tell them or talk them through who they should be calling?
Well, it just depends. If they're self-employed, there's a different number that they can call to reach the unemployment than if it's just a regular claim. The regular claim, of course, the 406-444-2545 has been extremely difficult to get through on just because of the sheer number of traffic that's going through it. The phone number 444, let me look it up here. 3382 is the new number for the people that are applying for the pandemic unemployment benefits where they are self-employed and generally wouldn't be eligible otherwise. But we're hearing that those folks are having a lot better luck at getting through on that number, and hopefully that'll free up the regular number, the 444-2545 number. People are welcome to call us. They can call not just us, but the local job service wherever they're at. We'll do our best to assist them. We have limited resources, but there are times that we can assist them with things. And it's sometimes just nice to talk to somebody, to have somebody reinforce that it will be okay, that hopefully the benefits will get issued soon, and that you can start going on with your lives again.
We talked a little bit earlier about how some people have never had to do this before. Are you trying to calm them down and make them feel better? Because I imagine that's pretty emotional for somebody who's never had to have anything like this before and is now suddenly having to ask for money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of folks that have never been laid off before. They've never had to file for unemployment before. So we're walking a lot of people through that process. We also have a great number that are having problems just feeding their families at this point in time. They've gone several weeks without a paycheck. Their unemployment, for whatever reason, might be held up. It might be that unemployment just hasn't been able to touch it yet to be able to get it approved. So we're referring folks to, we've referred people to the crisis hotline. We've referred people to the food bank, and we've referred people to the local Office of Public Assistance to apply for benefits, just to get them through until we can get some money coming into them.
So probably the system just nationwide is a bit overwhelmed at this point with the number of people trying to get information.
It is. It is just for some numbers for Montana. For the week ending 4/18, which is the most recent data that we're able to find right now, we had over 13,000 people file a new claim, but there were over 66,000 that filed for continued claims. So that's an incredible high number for the people that are filing for unemployment in this state, which is why the system just wasn't set up to handle that, and why there are some delays in getting people their benefits.
What types of jobs are now eligible to get unemployment? Because I know some weren't before, but it seems like the CARES Act has changed that to allow more different types of workers to get money.
There is. The big change that's been with the CARES Act is allowing people that work in self-employment to be able to receive unemployment if they meet certain criteria. That system, they built essentially they built a whole new system at the unemployment in order for them to be able to handle it, a whole new portal that people can apply through. And it's just a matter of folks filing and unemployment, looking at their claims and being able to issue benefits. They are hoping to have benefits start going out this week, which would be an incredible help for a very large group of folks that normally weren't eligible for unemployment that will be eligible for unemployment.
The job market has suffered greatly, but that's not to say no one's hiring right now, because they are. MTN's Megan Mannering reports on the first steps you can take if you're searching for a new job.
So you're back on the job hunt, and it's daunting to say the least. If you just don't know where to begin, Job Service Missoula can help you break things down.
There's some good news out there.
As a workforce specialist, Toby Wilson assisted folks with the job search long before the pandemic came along. He says step one when looking for a job is doing your research.
Get online, start looking around, start to see what's out there.
He recommends free websites like Career One Stop and Montana Works. Next, he says take inventory of all the work you've done in the past. Your experience and skills will probably surprise you.
It's just going back and thinking about the daily ins and outs of what you've done in the past, putting them on paper, and you'll find out that you've got a lot of skills behind you.
Wilson also says the job scene may not be as grim as you'd think. Looking on the U.S. National Labor Exchange website, he found a significant list of job postings ranging in levels of experience.
And I noticed that there were close to 800 jobs posted for the, it's like within a 25-mile radius of the 59801 zip code.
And that was just from one website. Whether it's creating a resume, prepping for an interview, or the very basics of looking for a new job, Wilson says Job Service Missoula is here to help you navigate.
We have a lot of staff here that have been on the phone with people for an hour to 2 hours, walking them through the process, explaining each step, helping them answer each question. And we're here for you to do that because we want you to feel comfortable. There's a lot of worry right now, and this is one thing that we can help minimize some of that worry.
In Missoula, Megan Mannering, MTN News.
Coronavirus closures have left many laid off and unemployed, leaving some to consider those career changes out there. MTN's Andy Curtis looked at one way you can earn experience while you learn, and that's apprenticeships.
There are currently more than 2,000 registered apprentices in the state of Montana. Around 70% are in construction fields like electricians and carpenters. But in recent years, the state has seen more apprenticeship programs develop in fields like healthcare, information technology, and even brewing. The Montana Department of Labor and Industry says apprenticeship is sometimes overlooked by people as a career path.
Apprentices on average that complete make about $25,000 more than Montana medium wage. Of those that complete their registered apprenticeship programs, about 9 out of 10 are still working in the state of Montana and contributing to our economy.
A desire to work and an interest in what you're doing are the primary requirements for an apprenticeship.
And one of the benefits of an apprenticeship is you can learn actual on-the-job skill sets you can use further in your career.
And you don't have to worry about not making rent because once you hop into it, you get paid for your work, and that pay increases as you learn. Blackfoot River Brewing Company was the first brewer apprentice program of its kind. Former apprentice and current lead brewer Nicholas Balkin says the program was a great opportunity.
I feel more legitimized, and I feel more confident when talking to my peers about what I'm doing, and it just helps me move forward and work in a confident way and brew beers that I know are going to be a great end result.
So if you're thinking about changing careers, why not give an apprenticeship a try? Reporting in Helena, MTN News team of Andy Curtis and John Riley.
The Department of Labor and Industry says apprenticeship programs can also be a good tool for employers who are looking at filling a job but are having trouble finding people who have the right training. So here are some important phone numbers and websites for Montanans to help you navigate during all of this. For people who are self-employed, the number you need to call is 406-444-3382. For other unemployment benefit questions, that number 406-444-2545. To find your new career, apprenticeships, or for help with employment benefits, go to montanaworks.gov. Now, those struggling with substance abuse disorders are finding the social isolation during this pandemic especially stressful. MTN's Maren Sue spoke with mental health professionals to find out what resources are out there to help you cope when you're alone at home.
The word social distancing, I mean, it's really cut off a lot of people from support systems and things like that. And so I think that initially had a big impact and continues to.
Dr. Doug Muir, North Valley Behavioral Health Director, says isolation can really negatively affect those struggling with substance use disorders.
It's a way of coping with whether it's anxiety or stress or depression. And so we tend to fall back on what we feel works for us.
But there is hope. There are resources for people while they're at home, even if they don't have access to a health professional via telehealth. He says there are tons of free online videos people can view.
Deep breathing exercises, something for emotional regulation like dialectical behavioral therapy. There's a lot of good things on that, a lot of good things on mindfulness. There's just a lot of really good resources out there.
Clinical professional counselor Michael Edwards says you don't have to navigate your disorder alone. Reach out for help.
Montana, that has some of the highest rates of alcohol misuse and other drug use, and that's coupled with the stigma for seeking mental health treatment, and a lot of folks feel very alone about that. One study found that about 90% of individuals with mental health or addictions issues don't receive treatment, and that's with stigma. So that further adds to the isolation.
Dr. Muir adds if you're already attending Alcoholics Anonymous to keep going to maintain a normal schedule. He says AA meetings are now all online, and Dr. Muir reminds people you're not alone.
We are all in this together, and the best way for us to get through it together is by reaching out and accessing those support systems and still keeping up communication with folks.
In Whitefish, Marin Sue, MTN News.
If you're struggling with any sort of addiction or mental health disorder, please reach out to a professional for help. In March, the University of Montana, along with the other Montana University System schools, transitioned from the classroom to remote learning because of coronavirus. MTN's Dennis Bragg spoke with University of Montana President Seth Bodner about the impacts COVID-19 has had on the students and staff, and how the university is looking forward, and more on the leading COVID-19 vaccine research being conducted by scientists.
University of Montana President Seth Bodner today to talk a little bit about the rebound, some of the impacts on the university, and what we're kind of looking forward to as we sort of put together what the plan is going to be for next fall as well. And Seth, thanks for joining us. We always appreciate you taking some time out of a very busy schedule. Let's talk a little bit first off about the response this spring. And how proud are you of all the faculty and the staff and students for the way they've kind of responded to this pandemic when it arrived here this spring?
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. And I appreciate being here. A little modified way of recording this from my office here. I'm sorry I can't join you over in your studio, but it's great to speak with you. And yeah, I will tell you, I have never faced a more challenging time than the last 2 months has been, but I've also never been prouder to be part of an organization, part of a community that has responded the way this community has. Throughout this, our first and foremost concern has been the health and safety of our staff, our students, our faculty, our family, as we call it, as well as the health and safety of Missoula and the broader Montana community. And every step we've taken has put that first. But at the same time, it's been so important for us to make sure that our students can continue to make progress in their academic programs. And I'll tell you what, the way our staff and faculty have responded there has been tremendous. Moving mid-semester, putting over 4,000 course sections into a remote delivery format, and that happened midstream. We started preparing for this in late February. We said, we might want to be ready. So we put up some efforts from our director of Online, Maricel Lawrence, started doing some trainings for faculty. But when you flip that switch, boy, it was amazing to see the way that our faculty responded, and importantly, the way our students have responded, continuing to engage, continuing to learn, and achieve their learning objectives and make progress through a very challenging time. And our housing staff, our dining staff, we made modifications. A bunch of our students appropriately moved out of the residence halls, but this campus has really responded incredibly well, and I couldn't be more proud about the way they served our students, and frankly, some of the activities our campus colleagues have been engaging in the community as well.
I find it interesting that with your Army logistical and planning experience, would be the guy at the front line right now with this. Have there been any kind of unexpected developments, and what role has innovation really played in trying to get through this?
Well, look, I think it's a great question. And frankly, innovation is just finding new ways to solve problems. And there are countless stories of the ways that our faculty, our staff, our students have innovated through this. Again, adapting the ways that we learn to help students switch modalities, but still achieve their learning objectives. Nothing beats the in-person experience, that personal contact. Frankly, that is such a special part of a education. It's frankly one of the key reasons that students come here. But our faculty have been very creative in the ways that they're delivering lectures, the ways that they're engaging students online. I tell you, our faculty members have also been incredibly creative, and our staff members in the ways that they're helping our community respond to this. You were on our campus last week, and you saw the tremendous work being done in our Center for Translational Medicine, Dr. Jay Evans, and literally world-leading research they're doing on the development of a vaccine for COVID-19, happening right here in Missoula, Montana. But you also see it in places like our Center for Population Health Research. Just received nearly an $11 million grant from the NIH And both at the state level and the local level, our professors in our Center for Population Health Research are working together with public health officials and helping to build the epidemiological models to see how this virus is spreading. They're helping our public health officials best manage this situation. And even small areas. You know, one of our Regents professors here on campus, Rich Bridges, normally his neuroscience lab is focused on research around Alzheimer's. Well, very quickly, as we learned that first responders here lacked hand sanitizers, Professor Bridges converted his lab and started producing hand sanitizer for our local first responders. And, you know, that's just a great example of innovation that's happening all over this community right now.
And with the pandemic, we don't know exactly where we'll be in the fall, but what are some of the plans and how is that kind of taking shape for the start of the fall semester?
Thanks, Dennis. You know, I think it's just so important. And if I can say one thing to students and to families out there, you know, this global pandemic is something to take seriously. And every step that we take here at the University of Montana, we will be considering first and foremost the health and safety of our UM family and of this community. At the same time, we want to make sure that students are able to keep on learning through this, and that is critically important. You can't press pause on your education. You've got to keep learning. You've got to keep growing. And so, you know, we're going to start up. We'll finish our normal academic year, and we're going to start a summer session here in early May. And the first part of that summer will actually be remote, but we're working, you know, thoughtfully to enable some experiential and in-person learning opportunities later into the summer. And I want to encourage all students out there, whether those are our current U of M students that I talked to, or students who recently graduated from high school, or perhaps maybe students who are away at other schools and are home here at Missoula for the summer. Maybe summer plans are put on hold, that job or that trip or that internship you're not able to do. And I'm encouraging students, take some classes this summer. Don't tread water. Make a little progress, because a lot of those things you can't do this summer. And that's unfortunate. But don't sit and wait. Take some classes, and then that frees up some time, gives you some flexibility later to do that trip to Europe or that internship or whatever it was. So we're really trying to encourage students to do that. And I want to say that to high school students who are graduating, as well as our students and students who are home. As we look to the fall, we're working very hard on ensuring that we can have the return to in-person instruction, and that is absolutely our plan. You know, I mentioned that a key part of that UM experience is that in-person, that face-to-face interaction on this incredibly beautiful campus. We're fortunate here in the state of Montana. I think this state took good, strong, aggressive actions. We've stemmed the spread of this virus. It's still a threat, and we have to take it seriously. But I think we can and we will be adapting the ways in which we operate, the class sizes that we have, the ways that we enable physical distancing, the ways that we treat residence halls. We're adapting how we operate, but all with the goal of still being able to provide that high quality in-person instruction for the fall. Now, it's going to take us focus on testing, on being able to effectively do contact tracing when cases do arise, and having sufficient plans and space for quarantine and isolation. But that stuff, those are all things we're working on right now.
I know last week the Commissioner of Higher Education, Clayton Christensen, put together a task force for the university system to look at those kinds of things. What do you think some of the challenges? You talk about in-person classes. Might we look at some kind of different hybrid models? I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of different ideas out there to make sure that quality of class experience continues, and we do what we can given the constraints.
Absolutely. And they say, right, that necessity is the mother of invention. By necessity, we've gone to remote learning. And I will tell you, our faculty and our staff and students are learning about what can be delivered just as, and in some ways more effectively remotely. And some of these large lectures, Maybe there are alternative ways. You can have a remote large lecture and then a smaller group in-person interaction. So we're looking at how we modify our instruction, enable physical distancing where we can. Obviously, we're going to modify the way in which we manage our housing and our residence halls, how we manage dining and the measures we put in place. But it is about putting those safety measures in place and then making sure that we have a robust ability to test, to do effective contact tracing, and then isolate and quarantine where necessary, because this is something we're going to be dealing with for a while. As we talk to public health officials, a vaccine is at least a year away. So how do we live in the interim? It is going to be
The Healthy Fall 2020 Task Force is comprised of 11 people from across the state of Montana. They plan to outline necessary changes to residence halls, lecture halls, student support services, and campus event planning across all Montana colleges. Some of the most impacted from the pandemic are families with school-aged children, but School District 2 in Billings has a plan to bridge any learning gaps children may have experienced since classrooms went to distance learning. MTN's Andrea Lutz reports how federal dollars will be used to do that.
As school officials continue to grip with the reality of the impact of the coronavirus, there is help in sight.
Our whole business is number one is the safety of our staff and our students first.
Superintendent Greg Upham with School District 2 says as a part of the Federal CARES Act stimulus package, the district will get roughly $3.2 million to spend on ways to bounce back from the impacts of the virus.
We're going to have to put plexiglass up in the counters. It's going to allow us to take safety measures that we probably wouldn't have been able to take before with any infrastructure upgrades. It allows us to go after additional cleaning supplies. It could allow us to go after additional people.
But beyond that, Upham has another concern.
You know, we have families that are working full time and coming home and trying to teach multi-age children in the home. That's been probably in my conversations with our families, that's been the greatest challenge.
So the stimulus funds will allow the district to take a two-phase approach, starting a summer boost program with face-to-face instruction. Then next fall, offer additional support in the school day.
Some of our students do fine with independent learning, and they're doing fine. But then our students that struggle really concern me, because the majority of our students that struggle academically are not independent learners. It's not like you can put a Chromebook in front of them and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Or the funding was designed for us to adjust to the overages that we're seeing or the challenges that we're seeing with the virus.
So here's the Rebound rundown. The district will get roughly $3.2 million in federal dollars to be used for additional cleaning, hiring, and ways to keep staff and students safe. The district also plans to open a two-tier approach for summer and fall instruction to help bridge the learning gap by staying home. In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
And before we go, MTN has launched the Rebound Montana Facebook group. It's a statewide resource to help keep you and your family stay informed and help navigate these uncertain times due to the coronavirus, a way for us to connect. We'll also keep you updated on how well relief programs are working and how Montana businesses are stepping up. Thank you for joining us here this morning on the Rebound Montana. Have a great day and please stay healthy.